Oh, hey, Internet. And welcome back to the Intoxicated podcast. This is a podcast where I have my friends on, they choose a alcohol, and we talk about something that they have experience in. It's kind of like a drinking variety talk show. So glad I'm finally getting around to recording this intro. It has been an insanely busy week for me. I was unable to record this weekend, but I was able to fit an episode in yesterday. So I turned this one around pretty quick. This week, my friend Wendy comes back on the podcast. Wendy's first episode on the show goes all the way back to episode 12, which was an awesome episode, and I knew she'd come back on. This week, we are talking about something a little more serious. This is a little more serious of an episode, but this is a great episode. We actually talk about loss and grieving and the importance of staying positive while you're grieving. Wendy sadly lost her dad just back in January on New Year's Day, and she's been through a hell of a time. She was brave enough to come on the show and talk about the grieving process, which is something that I actually don't have too much experience in. I've only lost one super close family member in my life, thankfully, but I have had a lot of friends that have lost parents. So I do think this is an episode everyone can relate to, whether you've lost somebody and you've gone through it, whether you're currently going through it, or if you are friends with somebody who's going through it. It was a very powerful episode. It was a quieter episode, but in that way, it did actually feel more calming in a strange way. This is an emotional one, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think it's an important conversation to have, and I cannot thank Wendy enough for being so brave to come on the podcast to talk about this. She is a very strong lady, and I really, really hope you take something away from it, because I sure did. It was a great conversation. We ended up talking for quite a bit after that, actually. I was super tempted to turn the mic on for a girl talk that we had and make it like a higher up Patreon level, because I've gone through some shit recently that I want to talk about. I ended up not doing that. Maybe in the future. You never know. But speaking of Patreon, I want to give a huge shout out to Zoe and Tyler. Thank you so much, guys, for contributing to the podcast. These are high roller Patreons. They are actually $10 and up Patreons, so they do get early access to episodes and bonus content and all that fun stuff. If you yourself are interested in becoming a member of our Patreon community, you can check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/intoxicated. And of course, do make sure you are subscribed to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't miss an episode. Also, head on over to Facebook and Instagram and find us at Intoxicated Podcast, and on Twitter at @in_toxicated. And feel free to send me your questions, your dirty secrets, your feedback about the show to our Gmail account, and that is intoxicatedpodcast@gmail.com. That's about it, you guys. I really hope you enjoy this very special and very beautiful episode with Wendy. Welcome back, everybody, to Intoxicated Podcast for another kind of a girl toxicated episode with a different spin, I think. This week, returning guest Wendy.
Hey.
Welcome back, Wendy. I've been wanting to have you back on for a while now. I'm so happy that Wendy's here. So this is Intoxicated. I may or may not do an intro for this. So I'm going to do my little intro right now. If you're new to this podcast, essentially what it is I do have my friends on, and we pick a subject that that friend is an expert in or has experiences in or has stories about. Something like that. And they choose a booze, and we drink and talk, and that's Intoxicated. So, Wendy, you did an epic episode on your last one.
Thank you.
Did you know, and you might not know, but I had an Intoxicated Awards.
What?
At the year point for the year anniversary.
Congratulations.
And you won. I think it was either silver or bronze in Girl Talk Moment.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh
Best
my God.
Girl Talk Moment when we start talking about porn on your episode. And there's a clip. I put a clip in of us talking about it. So congratulations.
Oh my God. Well, you can tell when I get a little tipsy tipsy with my girlfriends because porn comes up.
Porn comes up a lot.
I can't believe
I actually think it might have been gold. I'll have to go back and double check.
Oh my God.
You might have won gold, but there was like 3 clips that I chose that were like girl talk moments. And your episode stands out because here's the thing about me and Wendy. Like, we don't hang out that much, but when we do, it's kind of like a sleepover.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
I love it.
I feel like, because we both go to trivia, where we're kind of in a group setting with a bunch of guys, and, like, we don't always get the chance to, like, girl talk.
Yeah.
So this podcast is kind of our chance to do that.
Well, it's hard to do around all the guys.
Oh, my God. It really, really is. Like,
because they're just like, girls.
Stop coming at me with all these feelings.
It's like, I'm interested to hear this, but no.
That's essentially it. They're all probably nodding their heads right now. They're like, yep, that sounds about right. Thanks for taking the weight off us, Wendy. But, so we are drinking wine. We are drinking, it's Peller Estates Pinot Grigio, and it's $9.99, and I'm pretty sure this is the wine that we drank on your last episode.
I think it is, because
it's good shit.
As stated in the previous podcast, it has to be very low in cost and very high in percentage.
Yep.
And white.
It's a higher percentage than it is in cost, because it's 12% and it's $9.99. So it fucking works. So let's bring it in. Oh my God! Her glass is empty already. So I need to get you more. I'm actually just going to bring the bottle over.
Yeah, it's going to be a doozy.
It's going to be a doozy of an episode. We got the wine on the go. We need to do a cheers before we start, because that is tradition. So
cheers.
Yum yum. Perfect. So the reason that we say it's a doozy of an episode, so you've gone through some very hard times recently.
Yes.
Since we've last hung out.
Yes.
Because that would have been in the summer. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I approached you to come on the show, and I gotta say too, like, thanks so much for coming on so, like, last minute, kind of. Like, I was, like, so freaking busy this week and, like, could not record on the weekend. Like, losing a weekend for me really puts me back with the show, because normally that's when I record. And so I'm like, oh my God, like, who can I reach out to? And I was like, okay, Wendy. And then I suggested a subject, but, like, that was kind of off limits a little bit. I want to talk about dating more. But you would rather talk about something a little bit deeper than that.
Yes.
And a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Now, but this is a subject that I think a lot of people will relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an easy one. So, like, on my show, I have really fucking silly episodes sometimes. I do episodes about makeup and Taylor Swift albums and dating and sex and stuff like that. And that's all fun. But guess what? Like, there's a lot of other shit that happens in life that ain't so fun.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna hand it over to you.
Yeah.
What happened in the last? Was it last few months? When did it happen?
January 1st, so New Year's Day.
Oh my gosh, that's right. It was January 1st. Holy shit.
Yeah. So it's been 4 months.
It's been 4 months. So a few months ago.
Yeah. I got the call from my mom that my father slipped and fell on the ice.
Fuck.
Putting up a bird feeding bell because he loves to watch the birds from the picture window. Said that, an ambulance came, they took him to the hospital, he has a concussion, he'll be coming out the next day.
Right.
So I was like, okay, fine. I took it surprisingly really hard. Like, I was at work and it was around 2 and I was like, okay, I need to go on break because I was just crying.
Oh my God. Well, when you get any call about your parents.
Yeah, like they're in the
when
hospital.
You get a call from or about your parents.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people our age will instantly go into like, holy shit.
And especially whenever my mom calls, she always starts it with not an emergency.
Right.
And
just
then goes
ease
on.
Your brains,
yeah.
Like, yeah. Right
so
away.
When she called and she didn't say that right away, I'm like, oh God.
Oh, shit.
So I was like, okay, fine. Keep me updated.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through my shift, still feeling like off.
Yeah. It's hard. It would be hard to concentrate after that.
Yeah, it was. But work was a good distraction.
Right.
I got the phone call the next day from my mom, and she couldn't talk. So she passed the phone over to my sister.
Oh, my God.
And my sister said that it's not looking good. You should probably come home.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to find a way. Like, I'm going to do it. I'll be there as soon as I can. A half hour later, she called again. My sister called, and she was saying that the doctors missed in the CAT scan that he cracked his skull, and there was hemorrhaging in the brain. And that he wasn't going to make it, and I needed to come down to Antigonish and say goodbye. So that was difficult.
And you were in Halifax at that point?
I was in Halifax. After I hung up the phone, it was... I don't think I've ever cried that hard before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got access to a car and drove down to Antigonish, checked into a hotel, and then went to the hospital. And just to like walk in and see your dad laying there unconscious when he came up to visit 11 days beforehand, and he was like, happy and bubbly and throwing out one-liners and laughing at his own jokes.
Right.
To seeing him laying there, breathing with a breathing tube, and that was it.
Fuck.
So yeah, I got to talk to the doctor, and they were talking about options, what to do, and his plan was to donate his body to science at Dalhousie. That has always been his plan. He had all the paperwork done and everything.
Really?
Yeah. But when he did pass away, like, we were all there.
Okay.
My sister and I's godparents were both there to help support the family and us. But yeah, when he did pass away, Dalhousie had their maximum at the moment.
Oh.
So we didn't know what to do for plan B. We knew he wanted to be cremated and he didn't want like a funeral or anything, but it was just, we knew that he wanted to have his body donated, and we're like, okay, now we have to switch gears and try to figure something else out, come up with the money to pay for the cremation.
Fuck.
And we're just like, well, what are we going to do? Like, we're scrambling, and, we all just kind of pulled together and came up with the money for it, because you have to. You can't just leave him there. So yeah, that was hard. I think seeing my mom was the hardest.
Right.
Dad treated her like a queen for 37 years. Mom didn't have to do anything. She, didn't have to pay a bill. She never had to go grocery shopping. Like, she was completely taken care of by him. So she was spiraling, and I had to be the adult.
Right.
I had to stand firm and speak to her firm, too, because she was just panicking. Just like, what am I going to do about the bills? And, like, it was...
Did she ever work?
Yeah, she works. She's been working for, I think, 15 years now. So, she has income coming in, and the house is paid for and everything, so thankfully she has that. Like, she's fine now. Like,
right.
She's set.
But it's just the sudden shift in responsibility. And
exactly. And, like, poor mom, she's, extremely strong woman.
Mm-hmm.
But to have something like that so sudden happen, like, anyone's gonna tailspin.
It's interesting because I feel like if that happened with my parents, it would be the other way around. I think that my mom has taken care of my dad.
Yeah.
Like, this entire time, and it's, oh my gosh. It sucks to instantly go to logistical things like that, but, like, how can you not? Your brain is trying to figure out what the fuck just happened.
Yeah, like, I didn't, I got a chance to say goodbye to Dad and, have that moment, just the two of us, and just thanking him for everything he's done, because he's always put us first. And it was really nice to have those moments just alone with him, and just, to touch his skin and give him kisses and the head and everything. But at the same time, you have to be really, really strong. Like, I had to be really strong for my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And because she was, she'd be saying these things like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to live without him. And, like, I don't want to go on. I'm like, Mom, you need to stop.
Right.
Dad may not be awake, but he can hear what you're saying. And we do not want him hearing you say this stuff. So you need to just focus on what's happening right now, and we'll deal with everything later.
Yes, that's a really good...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he did finally pass away, like, we waited for his best friends to come down from Dartmouth so they could say goodbye. And then we took out the breathing tube. And we were all standing around him.
That's beautiful, though.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. I'm sorry. At least you're all there.
Yeah.
I think that's how we all want to go in a way, right? I mean, no one wants to go.
Yeah, he was in his sleep.
I'm gonna cry now. Fuck.
It's okay. I know it's a
Well, because you picture, I think when this happens to a friend of yours, like, you picture it happening to you.
Yeah.
Because for so much of our lives as teenagers, or it's not even in our minds. And when it's an accident, it's never in our minds.
No.
We never think the person that raised us is just gonna go like that so unexpectedly.
Yeah, you think you'd have time.
Yeah.
To, have some last times together experiences, but I didn't.
But
yeah.
he heard ya.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful that I got to say goodbye and we were there. But the one thing from that was, when he did finally take his final last breaths on his own, he just looked completely different. Like his jaw was open and like the color was draining from his face. And I have flashbacks of that moment. Like,
fuck.
It would be completely random times, and to have like that picture flash in your head, and especially if you're at work on, helping people, and all you want to do is just, collapse and hold your head and scream and just try to get this image out of your head. It's really hard.
But he was asleep, though, right?
He was asleep.
But then there was like obviously physical things happening.
Yeah, he was dying.
Fuck.
And so yeah, that was a really hard time.
I can't imagine.
We did stay in the room for a little bit after. Mom stayed for a lot longer, but I was like, Mom, I don't want to remember him this way.
Exactly.
So I'm going to be down in the waiting room, down the hall. If you need me, give a call. Like, I just don't want to see him like this anymore because, obviously seeing him like that has left a lasting impression on my mind.
Yeah.
Where I'm having these flashbacks of it.
Yeah. It reminds me of, I hate bringing Grey's Anatomy up.
Bring it.
But there was a scene in Grey's, well, have you watched it?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil. Okay, so like the Denny scene. Like when spoilers for Grey's Anatomy, maybe stop listening right now. But the scene where Denny dies, and fuck, what's her name? Iggy.
Mm-hmm.
Iggy?
Izzy.
Iggy. And Izzy was there with him, and he died, and like the friends were trying to take her away, being like, "This isn't him anymore. Like he's gone. It's not him anymore. You need to leave the body be."
Yeah,
kind of
Mom,
thing. It's kind of similar.
Yeah, so bad. Like Mom kept on hugging him and crying and just wailing. Like I've never heard someone cry like that before.
Oh my God.
And just like saying, "Don't leave me," and I can't go out without you, and just
it's heartbreaking.
It really was. And my sister and I had a really good moment because we haven't really been that close for the past couple of years.
Oh yeah. That's right.
But we came together for this.
Yeah.
And I left the room and she came out shortly after and we just met in the hallway. And we just kind of collapsed into each other's arms and hugged. And then we walked down the hall holding hands. Just like a zombie down to the waiting room just so we could go into another area and just, just let it all out.
Right.
And my sister is very, detail oriented. Thank God she was here to help with that because...
Right.
She took care of everything. She took care of all the lawyers. She took care of all, any bills or anything under his name or the car and, the funeral. Crystal was on it. And she did it all.
Logistics. Yeah.
Thank God. Because the day after Dad passed, I came back to Halifax. Mm-hmm. Because I felt like there was nothing I could do.
Right.
And, I wanted to be there for my mom. But if I knew I was there for her, taking care of her, I wouldn't be able to grieve myself.
I was just thinking that, like, when you were saying about how you had to be strong for her, I think it's important for people to realize that you can't be strong all the time.
No.
And though it's very brave for you to be strong for someone, especially your mom, you gotta have those moments yourself. You gotta be, I hate saying it this way, but you gotta be weak. You gotta be a mess. You gotta cry.
Exactly.
You gotta scream. Like, you owe yourself that, because if you don't do that, or if you don't find a way to do that, it's gonna pile up inside of you. And
it's just gonna explode into something
else.
Yeah, and you may explode at something completely minute, and it's just, why is all this rage coming? And so I came back to Halifax. I did feel guilty for leaving, Mom and Crystal to deal with all the details, but I had to come back just, to feel everything. And luckily, like, my mom and sister and, like, dad, like, they all live together. So my day-to-day wasn't affected. Like, it didn't have as much as, like, a day-to-day impact on my life versus them.
Right. That's very true.
So it was a bit easier for me to
distract yourself, probably.
Yeah. So I came home. I was dropped off by my boyfriend because he came down with me just to support.
So was he there at the hospital with you?
Yeah.
That's nice.
He was in the waiting room. He respected our space and just wanted to.
That's good.
He was just there if we needed him. And
right.
Aside from that, he was just off on his own, doing his own thing. Yeah, it was perfect the way it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home and I was by myself. And I bought a pack of cigarettes. I started smoking again because I was like, whatever, I don't care. Like, I haven't smoked in 8 years, but I was like, fuck it. I need something, a stress relief.
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to do it forever. This is just a temporary thing. And, I got a couple of beer and I was drinking those. And so I was really trying to just numb myself.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to be able to grieve, but I wanted to be able to control the amount that I was allowing in at the time, because to take it all in at once is just way too much. Especially for me, because I have anxiety and I have depression, like bouts of that, and I know exactly what works for me.
Right.
And I called a bunch of friend emergencies where I was just like, okay, Jonathan, you need to come to my house tonight so, I can see you and we can talk about, my dad passing and just basically the comfort. And my friend Anthony, I was like, okay, like, emergency, you need to come now. And that's what the thing, like, friends, if something happens, they're just going to drop everything.
100%.
And come to you. But that is up to the person who's grieving to ask for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great, because I was getting a lot of messages from people, yourself included.
I remember it well, because what did I do for New Year's Eve this year? I think I just went to Fickle Frog with a couple people, but, like, I remember seeing your Instagram post. Was it on New Year's Eve that you posted that?
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve. It was the picture of me holding my dad's hand.
And my stomach dropped. Like, when I saw you post that, being like, I'm about to say goodbye to my dad.
It's like, I don't know what to do. Like,
I was just like, holy fuck, here I am being this dumb bitch. She's, like, in a fancy dress, like, sad that she's not getting a midnight kiss. Like, stuff that's just so stupid to, like, even be, like, sad about on New Year's Eve. Like, and here you are, like, about to say goodbye to your dad.
Yeah.
I was just like, ugh.
Well, I
felt so fucking terrible.
Like, I had no way to tell people what was happening without having to, like, group text everyone or just... So I decided to take that... Like, I took that picture because I wanted a picture of our hands together because we have very similar hands. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to post this picture and say what's happening. And if anyone wants to message me, that's great. Like, I'll message them back whenever I get a chance.
I was just going to say, I feel like that's... I think everyone's different and everyone uses social media differently. Mm-hmm. But the good thing about how you did that is people can comment on the picture and express condolences. But you might not feel like you have to get back to them right away on social media. Whereas I feel like if you were to text people or message them, you would be opening up a dialogue that maybe you weren't ready for yet.
Exactly.
So,
and like, I only have a select few people on my Instagram.
Right.
Because I want, you know, anything I do share, I want to be in this small group of people that, you know, I know and trust.
Yeah.
And like, that are my friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I think I put another post up when I did come back to Halifax, and it was a picture of myself as baby and mom and dad like holding me. And I wrote like this really long post about, you know, how great of a man he was and how much I appreciate having him in my life and everything that he's done for me. And like, that was really hard to do, but I felt like I had to write that because he didn't want a funeral. So I didn't get a chance.
Right.
To like tell anybody
how great he is.
Exactly.
Because not everyone knows him. That's the thing. Like, maybe certain friends in your life might. But writing that, is probably cathartic for yourself.
Yeah.
But also will let people know who he was.
Exactly.
Right.
And because, you know, it was just like, oh, it's someone's dad. It's like, no, he was more than just my dad. Like, he took care of us so well. He was so selfless.
Right.
He just worked himself to the bone.
Right.
And we appreciate everything. And like, he wasn't very giving with money, which I'm so thankful for. Because it made me, you know, work for everything I've ever had. And it really instilled like a really strong work ethic. Like, you need to be good at everything that you do. Just like what you're doing and do it the best that you can. And you'll come out better at the other end.
Right.
So yeah, I was very thankful about that. I did go back to work 3 days after he passed away.
3 days.
It was 3 days. I remember calling my manager because she was messaging me every day, Amanda, like, we've all worked together for 5 years now. And so, you know, we're all really close. We know exactly what's going on in each other's lives, and it's a good support system to have.
Right.
It's like a work family.
Yeah.
Where it's just very supportive. But yeah, she was messaging me every day just, you know, to check in, and I was like, oh, I'm doing all right. So when I called, I think it was 2 days after, because I wanted to go back pretty soon, I was like, okay, I need to come back. I'm just sitting around the house.
Yeah.
And I need to do something to distract myself. If I can just, you know, stay back and do something that doesn't have to deal with customers, because I don't want to break down on the floor.
Yes, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I was like, just, you know, please just let me. She's like, yep, sure, nope, I understand. Because, you know, she knows me and she knows that I need to keep busy.
Yeah, busybody. I'm the same. I would probably be the exact same.
Yeah.
And you want to know what? Some people might. And it sucks too, because I feel like if you have people that know that about, like, if they know, like, you went back to work after 3 days, like, there's probably some people that would judge that, and fuck them. Seriously, like, everyone's grieving differently.
Exactly.
And if you are somebody who, even when things aren't tough, that you're keeping busy all the time, that's your normal.
Yeah.
So, it's like a defense mechanism. Like, if you're grieving and you're going through hardships, like, your brain goes to, I need to be normal again. I need to be normal to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
And how are you normal? You work.
Yeah.
You run errands. Like, give yourself as much time as you think you need to be, quote unquote, a piece of shit. Like, I don't want to shower. I don't, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, those things are fine, but jump-ins, like, if you really think going back to work is going to help you, do it.
Yeah. But like, I went back to work and there was like those rainstorms that we had, like the wind and rainstorms.
Yes.
So I went to work and I was out back doing everything. My district manager was in and he talked to me and just give condolences and everything. So I was a wreck at work. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Like, I was crying. Like, just weeping to myself. And no one was saying anything. Like, they'd come up and give me a hug. But aside from that, they would just let me continue doing what I'm doing because they knew that it was better than me sitting at home doing that.
Yeah. You had people there.
Yeah, like, I was surrounded.
That's the important
I had the
part.
support if I needed it. I had a distraction.
Yeah.
Which is what I needed.
Yeah.
And then the mall closed.
Oh, shit! It was my distraction.
It happened 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And
Fuck.
so at most I was at work for 3 hours at a time. But I am so thankful for those storms. Because it got me out. It got me at work.
Yeah.
It got me doing something. And then I could come back home.
Right.
And, just kind of go into my little
Cocoon.
Yeah, cocoon of depression and just crying and like, you never know when you're gonna start crying.
Fuck, that's the worst part.
Yeah.
I feel like the reason I really wanted to do this episode with you specifically, because, well, you're a fucking strong person for coming on here and talking about this.
Thank you.
So, like, all kudos to you, but, like, I've always been terrified of how I would deal with death, because and I hate saying it this way, but I'm obsessed with it. And when I say that, I mean, I'm obsessed with, I just think I'm going to die every day. Like, I think about it all the time. It's like an irrational fear of death. And my only real true, like, I had my first grandmother, my dad's mom, die when I was really young from Alzheimer's. And I was so young back then that I hardly knew her. And it was my other grandmother that I actually got close with. And I didn't have any I didn't know my grandfathers. Yeah. So they all died before I was born. So she was my closest grandparent. And so my really only experience with death when it comes to immediate family was when she died a couple of years ago. Yeah. And when I found out she died, because it was kind of, we were expecting it to happen. Okay, so
you had time.
You had time to mentally prepare.
It
still fucking sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, regardless of anything. But it was kind of one of those things where you're always waiting for the call. And when I got the call, I didn't cry. I didn't feel sad. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And I went on with my life, and I was at Fickle Frog. Good old Fickle Frog! The bar of my life, essentially.
They should be giving you some money for this.
Seriously, though. And we were talking. I was talking with friends. My friend Elise was there. Elise, if you're listening, hey, girl.
Thank you for being there.
I'll Be Missing You came on the like, started playing. Not the Faith, I think it might have been the Faith Hill version, actually. I don't remember, but I'll Be Missing You came on. I lost it crying, because it just triggered something in me that I didn't quite get right away, because I think I wasn't a little bit in shock, even though it was expected.
Yes.
There was an aspect of shock where I didn't cry right away, and I went into that bathroom and I fucking bawled, and Elise came in and gave me a hug. And, like, Elise, if you're listening to this, seriously, like, I appreciate that so much, because, like, if I had been in that bathroom alone, who knows? Like, it's so crazy. And then there's the whole aspect of talking to people about it. And
yes,
like, whew, I'm somebody who can cry at the drop of a hat. And so when we actually had her service, it wasn't really a funeral. It was kind of a burial. It was like a burial, and then we had like kind of like a reception at a hall.
Yeah.
Like, people were coming up to me that I didn't even know, and I was just losing it me out of everyone in the family was crying constantly about grandma. And it's so fucking hard. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, even when they're very old and you know it's coming.
Exactly.
It's so hard, but I can't even imagine being caught off guard like that, to a point, like you said, like, you had seen him 11 days earlier, like.
Yeah, and I was like, and the last words we said to each other, like, we hugged. We said, I love you. And then he was walking down the stairs. I'm like, okay, I'll see you in the spring or in the summer when my vacation is. But yeah, I was really happy to have that moment, just to say, like our last words were I love you
So
and a
nice.
hug. Like, so grateful to have that moment. Because if I didn't see him before, I felt like I would have missed out.
I think that's a lot of people's fear with their parents. Like, especially if you have kind of a rockier relationship with your parents, you feel like, fuck, I'm going to get a call someday. And like, I should have done this and I should have done that and I should have been a better kid. And like all of this. And we can only do so much is the thing.
Yeah.
And it really fucking sucks. But like, you really can't hold yourself. What's the word? Like, you can't blame yourself too much, unfortunately, like, because you're just never going to move on then.
No.
And it's weird because, like, you saying the I love you thing, because I had a call from my mother the other day, which was very bizarre. Like,
she doesn't call?
really rarely. But, like, they're about to go on a trip.
Oh, okay.
They're going on, like, a river cruise over in Europe. Like, they're going, like, through Germany and Amsterdam and stuff. And it was the weirdest thing because she was calling in to check on me and of course, I'm going to be honest, nitpick my life like she does. She's a mom.
That's what moms do.
That's what they do. But it was weird because she ended the conversation being like, just want to let you know that I love you. And like, that rarely happens in my family. We're not very touchy-feely. We're not very like, we don't really express it verbally a lot. It's just the family that we are. I don't know what it is. Everyone's different. And like, when she said that, I was just like, oh, I love you too. Like,
yeah. And
I got off that phone call just thinking of you and like losing your dad. And I'm just like, I liked that.
Aww.
Like, and normally I'd just be like, yeah, whatever. Like,
yeah, okay, bye.
But it's so important.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not always going to remember to say it.
No.
But especially when you reach a certain age when your parents are older and you just never fucking know.
Exactly. Like you get hit. It's Halifax. You get hit by a car any day.
Yep. and that is my biggest fear.
Across the street, it's a gamble.
So, what were some of the things you did? So, obviously, you said that you spiraled into a depression, and we talked about this before off mic about being someone who's prone to depression, but then having an event kind of trigger it.
Yes.
In a way, because I think there's people who go through spouts of depression, or they're just always dealing with depression. Everyone's different. Exactly. I'm someone who has spouts. I have times in my life where I definitely don't feel depressed, but I have spouts. And then having an event like this trigger it. I almost feel like, and this might be a weird perspective, but if you're someone who was depressed before or has dealt with it a lot, and then an event triggers it and really puts you in a dark spot, I almost feel like you'd be better prepared in a way.
Oh, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, because if you're someone who's never been depressed, never dealt with it, and then you lose a parent and your world just gets turned upside down and all of a sudden you're depressed, like I feel like you just wouldn't know how to deal.
No, if I've never dealt with depression before, I think I'd still be
in bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I've gone through bouts of depression throughout my entire life. But thankfully, my parents were receptive to me when I was a kid, asking to go to the doctor to ask to go get help for it.
Oh, that's
so,
nice.
Like in high school, like I went through a really big bout of depression and an eating disorder. And, they were like, yep, sure, we are going to get you help. And thankfully I did, because if I didn't, like you said, like I'd still be in bed. I definitely allowed myself to feel what I was feeling whenever it came up.
Right.
So if I was happy, for 10 minutes,
let yourself be happy.
Fuck yeah, I am happy. Like,
hell yeah.
Let's sweep this floor.
And focus on the little things that make you happy. Yeah, exactly.
It was great. And whenever I feel grief, I, even to this day, like 4 months later, like it hasn't been that long, like I fully embrace it.
Right.
I just let myself break down. And then whenever I'm done crying, I get up. I'm like, okay, let's continue on with this day. Like, I don't let it affect the rest of my day.
That's strength right there.
Yeah, because
that's what it is.
You've
learned. You've learned from the past.
Like, that's the last thing my dad would want me to be, like, just sad and depressed over this.
Right.
But, you know, it is a huge loss. Like, a major loss in my life. Like, my mom passes. Like, I don't want to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, it was definitely a very, very hard couple of months. I just surrounded myself with people who loved me unconditionally, will, you know, love me at my worst and love me at my best, and, you know, ask for help when I need it. And I know for sure that if ever I ask anyone, they will come running.
100%.
Yeah, and my cousin Ian, he messaged me one day and he's like, I have the weekend off, like, I'm gonna come and get you groceries and get you, like, you know, some alcohol, and we'll have some drinks and everything like that. And I'm just like, you know, honestly, like, I do appreciate it, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like,
because in a way, sometimes, and like, that's an interesting thing to bring up, because the idea of friends and how friends should handle when someone close to them loses a parent or loses somebody they love. Like, because in a way, depending on what the friendship is, like, if they're showering you with stuff, that's out of the ordinary. That's something a little bit different. Like, your friends might not always come and buy you booze and bring you tons of food.
Comes from love.
So in a way, it's like, if they were to do that, it would be a constant reminder of it. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of get that. The whole idea of, like, I don't quite need that, but thank you. Like,
yeah, it's like, I'm dealing. Like, I 100% appreciate the offer. Yeah. Like, of course. Yeah. Like, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like, friends are messaging me, and it was up to me, and thankfully a lot of people respected that. Like, if I did need to talk, then I would message them. If not, it was just a kind of, okay, I'm going to give space to do what you need to do.
That's exactly it.
Until you want to talk, or you need to talk, or you need to hang out. You don't want to be alone at this moment. Yeah.
Really, it's about putting that message out there to say, I'm fucking here for you, and if you fucking need to talk, you message me right away.
Yeah, like,
but otherwise, I'm going to let you be. But, like, and honest to God, like, I've had many friends in my life who have lost people, and holy shit, like, I just want to run to them right away and give them a hug, and I just know, like, gotta rein it back.
Yeah.
Gotta rein it back, gotta just send a message, let them know. And I think that's so important, that kind of etiquette. It's kind of like etiquette in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everyone's different.
Everyone's different.
We spoke of this before.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's process is going to be different. I'm a very, deal with what's happening at the moment. And then kind of slowly let the grief and everything trickle in. But I need to feel like I'm in control of whatever situation I'm in, or I'm going to break.
And that probably goes back to the depression spouse that you've been through, and the eating disorder. I heard something recently that totally changed how I think about stuff like that, because it was like, I was listening to a podcast, and it's The Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, and he has celebrities on, and he had Chris Hardwick on.
Cool.
Who I love, Chris Hardwick. I have such a crush on him. But they got fucking deep, man. Holy shit, the stuff they're talking about. And they're talking about the idea that, like, what we think are our weaknesses can actually be our strengths. So, like, for example, going through something like an eating disorder, that's fucking hard as shit.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't wish that on anyone. But because you went through it, you developed such a strength that people who haven't don't even know.
Yeah, and, like, the thing, I've lost 15 pounds since my father passed away. That was not intentional. It was, at first, it was anything I put in my mouth tastes like sand. Or, like, even just swallow it. It was so difficult. But since, you know, I've gone through this before and I've had therapy for it, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I needed to get myself on a multivitamin. I needed to get meal replacement shakes.
Yeah.
And I just needed to eat whenever I felt like it, not forcing myself to. So thankfully with the meal replacement shakes, like they give you a lot of calories and a lot of nutrients in just a small little container.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do, like even today, is I keep them at work and I just sip on it throughout my shift. Like I am eating, but I can't seem to be gaining the weight back. Now, smoking is probably having a big factor in that. But, you know, grief really does take a physical toll on the body.
And you're doing what you can to stay healthy.
Yeah.
While not shoving food down your throat just because you feel like you have to, and then probably throw it up because that's the thing. I'm the same. When I'm going through really hard times, or if I'm super upset, or if I'm really stressed, I will not have an appetite.
No.
And I will go like when I went through my really bad breakup, I didn't eat for days. Like, it was like I had no appetite at all. Mm-hmm. So I totally feel that. But it's interesting that like you instantly went to, okay, no, I know what I gotta do to like, I need to keep myself alive. So, you know,
yes,
like,
because if you don't have the calories in your body, you know, for your normal body functions, how do you expect your brain to have energy to process this?
So true.
So yeah, you know, it's about recognizing what's good for you at the moment and what you need to do, the next steps. And I'm just so grateful that I have had therapy in the past where, you know, I feel so much more equipped to deal with this.
Right.
Versus never coming across any hard times before in my past and just being like, well, fuck, here's starting from scratch.
Exactly.
And my motto is, if you have shit to deal with, any issues, like any drama, deal with it right then and there.
Yes.
Or, like, I have access to a counselor, like, 24/7, which I'm very grateful for. So I can call her at any time just to talk to her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank God.
Can I have her number?
Hi, this is Wendy.
Except my issues will be way different.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that on the $20 Patreon episode that we're hopefully going to do after this one.
Yeah. No, it was definitely good to have resources and family and friends to support, and just to realize that it's going to take time, because I was trying to rush feeling better. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to feel like a zombie anymore.
Yeah, and it actually reminds me of a very close friend of mine who lost her mother like this past summer, and she had cancer. So like there's an aspect of that of kind of expecting it, but at the same time still freaking terrible. But I remember just as a friend thinking to myself, okay, so this particular friend, like, again, might not really be a feelingsy person. Like, you know, our heart-to-hearts are few and far between, but when we have them, they're very good. But I just knew that her as a person is kind of a more private person. And, you know, whatever steps I take as a friend in that moment to be there for her, I need to make sure that I'm not overstepping those boundaries that she has set. Yeah. And I remember making the decision to go to the funeral. What are your thoughts on that? Having friends show up at funerals or wakes? Because, like, I remember when I did it. Oh, I'll cry now. But we sat near the back. Feel your feelings. And, like, let me just say, if you're listening, you know who you are, and I fucking love you so much. Like, it was the first close friend that I've had that lost a parent, like really close friend. Yes. So while I didn't know the parent, or know her well anyway, I'm so close with that friend, and I'm going for you. Like, I'm going to be a support for you. But like when I walked in that church, it was full. It was full. It was packed to the brim. And we sat kind of near the back. Yeah. And, you know, there's that moment where, like, the people walk up the aisle with the coffin. Mm. And I saw her, and I looked at her, and I mouthed the words to her, "I love you." Aww. And I just lost it.
Well, of course.
Because I was just like, we haven't seen each other yet throughout this whole thing. Like she was there with her mom for many months. She had those moments. Like, she made the choice to, like, because it was cancer, so
you only have so much time.
She knew, and she made the choice to be with her, which is so, like, it's so, like, it's cancer fucking sucks. Like, I can't stress that enough, but, like, just the idea of having that time, whether that be a few months or a moment, like,
exactly,
it's nice to have that comfort.
Yeah.
And I remember just being at that funeral and just being like, you know, like, I'm really fucking glad I came, because I would want my friends there. That's the type of person I am. Like, if that happened to me, number one, I'm the youngest in my family, and I've always felt awkward around my family. So, like, being in family situations, like, I'm always just feel like I'm the black sheep, and, like, I just want to talk to my friends. So, like, if that was me, if I saw my friends in the aisle, that would mean the world to me.
It would be
Do you know what I mean?
Comforting. So, yeah, like, if Dad did have a funeral, I would really love for my friends to come to support me. And a lot of my friends have known my dad, like, throughout the years. Like, he'd give us drives into town.
Yeah, that's kind of how you know your friends' parents. Like, you know them on a level of, you hear about all the shit they do wrong as a parent from your friends, and you hear, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of a bystander in a way. In the backseat of a car, even.
Yeah,
like.
Definitely. Since Dad didn't have a funeral, I kind of felt like I missed out.
On that aspect.
On that.
Yeah.
Did have a couple of other losses between, Dad passing and now. I did have to put my cat down. Muffin.
Fuck. Oh my God.
And that happened 2 months after.
2 months after?
But she had this issue where she couldn't poop, basically.
Yeah.
And it has happened before, and I did make the decision last year, if anything does come up with this again, then that would be the time.
Right.
Because she's 13 years old.
Oh, that's older, yeah. Yeah, that's a good life.
Yeah, and the vet said that, she was showing signs of, like, diabetes and, like, kidney problems and everything like that. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
This is the time.
Yeah.
I didn't feel guilty about it because
there's no suffering anymore.
Yeah, I chose to make the decision when I wasn't emotionally involved in that moment.
Right.
And I followed through with it. And I'm very thankful that I did.
And that's kind of the good thing with pets and animals, because, I mean, and there's many times where pets will die unexpectedly as well, but, like, if you take them to the vet and the vet detects it, you have that decision to make to just put them down peacefully. Yeah. And that's kind of a blessing in a way, even though it still fucking sucks.
It was hard.
I have that cat over there, and I'm pointing at her right now, is my fucking heart. Yeah. And when I got her, I just knew, because my sister's a vet, so she's seen some shit. Mm-hmm. But, like, I just knew I'm making it, like, and that's the thing. There's a lot of shitty pet owners out there that don't realize, like, when you're adopting a pet, that's, it's up to 19 years, essentially.
That's a commitment.
They could live till 19 or even older. But it's a commitment. And you are going to see that cat through its whole life.
Yeah.
And unless, heaven forbid, like, you die before them. But, like, I've made jokes. I'm like, Mindy, you're going to outlive me. For the love of God, I'm never going to see you die.
I feel like you're going to live a long life. Don't worry about that.
But, like, it's this aspect of, like, you have this creature in your life every day, and they greet you, and they're there for you, and it's like they have their little quirks that you learn, and it's just like, holy fuck, there's no way I'll ever be prepared for putting my cat down.
No. It was hard.
Yeah,
like, I can't imagine. The vet, she was like, do you want to be in the room?
Were you?
Put her down. And Michelle was with me. She drove me, and, obviously she's there. She's my best friend. And
I would
like,
lose it.
I broke it down. Like, I lost my dad 2 months prior. Like, I saw him pass away, like, firsthand, like, physically touching him as he was taking his last breaths.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was so worked up. I was crying so hard, and I could barely speak. And I said to the vet, like, I apologized for being so upset. Like how
they're used to it. They've seen it all.
Like how Canadian is that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm crying. But
so true.
But like I did tell her, I'm like, I recently did, see my dad pass away.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay.
So
it is best for you not to be in the room. And I am so grateful that she said that. And she hugged me. And she was just so loving. And like, I don't know if all vets are like that, but this vet was amazing.
That's nice.
Like she's just like, you've done the best that you could possibly do for this cat. And like I support your decision. And I know this is hard.
Yeah.
And you take as much time as you need to say goodbye.
And you get to have that moment with the cat.
Yeah.
Beforehand. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry again. Fuck. I just don't like because Mindy's my life. Like I just can't even imagine. And I get that because when my cat growing up got sick and had to be put down, I was younger. I was like 15, 16. But I remember it being like, who's gonna go in the room with the cat? And I think it was my sister and my dad. But I made the decision not to for the same thing. I was like, I don't really want to see my cat like that. I would rather just have that last image in my head as something else.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, that's hard. I just can't.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
I remember my boyfriend called and I couldn't talk. So I got Michelle to talk to him because I was so worked up. So he went and he bought me a keyboard because I expressed that I wanted to learn how to play it.
Oh, like a piano keyboard.
Yeah. And
I was picturing a computer keyboard for some
reason. Yeah, sorry.
Like, sorry. So sweet.
Yeah. Oh my god. But it was okay, what can we do to constructively, bring this grief into something that's going to be beautiful?
Oh, that's nice.
So it was a great present. Like it was his birthday.
Are you learning that?
I am. It's great. I'm learning a song that I absolutely love and I've wanted to learn for a really long time. And it's taking so long to learn, but it's a slow and steady process and I'm learning it. It's great.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I definitely think that, finding something constructive to do to channel your grief is great. Like take something completely negative, so sad, and try to make something beautiful and positive
and try to almost make it like something that's going to better your life too.
Yeah,
because it's going to suck. Like it's going to suck going through those hard times, but like now you have a hobby. Now you have something to look forward to.
Yes.
Like my friend who lost her mom, she is now on a 5-month hike on the Pacific Crest Trail. Like living her goddamn life.
That sounds amazing.
Like went through a really hard time losing her mom. Went through that shitty like low lows, and is now like, you know what? I always wanted to hike that trail, so I'm gonna go fucking hike that trail now.
So inspired her to live her life.
Exactly, and that's what I always think about. And like seeing friends do this is gonna make me more prepared when it happens to me. Yeah. Because I know like. My friends did this, so can I. Like
everyone is going to go through this. Like that is the main thing.
That's the scary part.
You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know who it's going to be.
God, no.
But it's going to happen. And everyone's journey through it is going to be different.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like there's the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah. What are they? What's the first one?
Let me
she wrote it down! Wendy has notes.
Of course I would write it down.
She's such a great guest. The first time she brought her diary, now she brought notes.
Okay. So the 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
So I get a lot of those. The 2 that I don't really understand in terms of death is denial and bargaining. Like, how can you bargain?
Yeah, like, in the thing, like, I'd done a lot of reading on it because I do research, so I need to know for sure, like, what's going on.
What's going on with me?
Yeah, I'm like, do tell me what steps I'm going to go through with this. With denial, like, with something so sudden, you can't be in denial about it.
That's very true.
Because, like, my dad, he cracked his skull, hemorrhaging in the brain, and you can't argue or say that's not real. Like, that's a fact. That's medical fact. Like, something has happened. But, like, what I have learned is these 5 stages, it's not supposed to be in order.
Oh, that's so true.
Like, anger. I became super fighty. Like, there was a guy, I was walking up the street, I had my headphones in. It was 2 days after Dad passed away. And he was standing outside a bar, and he said something to me. And
Like, was he catcalling?
He was catcalling.
Fuck.
I had my headphones in. I didn't actually have my music on. Because, obviously if you have headphones in, you think that someone's gonna, respect and not say anything to you.
Right.
But I didn't say anything back to him. He was just like, hey,
Fuck.
And I didn't say anything. And he was like, fucking bitch.
Oh, go
and
fuck
I was like,
yourself.
So
fuck yourself.
Yeah. So I stopped. I turned around. I approached him. I cussed him out. He was starting to cuss me out. And I was like, it got to a point where I yelled at him. I was like, listen, my father just fucking died a couple days ago. I do not need this.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, and that makes what you said all right? Like,
yeah,
that,
really though.
Like, what makes you think that saying that I'm a fucking bitch and stuck up because I won't talk to you? Like, I don't have to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Unless I want to. Like, just because you're on the street saying something to me does not mean I have to respond. And I was fired up, and I was like, I need to leave. Like, if I don't leave right now, I'm gonna punch this guy in the face, and I'm gonna lose.
Right.
So I just kept on walking. But yeah.
And would you normally be the type of person to do that?
Yeah.
Ding ding.
Which I
love that.
Some people have talked to me about it, confronting people on the street talking to me like that and just getting up in their face and being confrontational, like trying to educate them, like, this is not okay. And they're just like, one of these days, like, someone is not going to react well to you trying to educate them about what's supposed to be socially acceptable.
Yeah.
And stab you.
Oh, God.
Or, like, attack you. And I'm like,
you want to know what, though? Like,
no. And, yeah, I was so stubborn about it. But, I was like, if it really comes down to it, like, there are some crazy people out there.
There is, yeah. But we can't, as women, be passive to this shit anymore.
I
the
refuse.
thing, like, yeah, you're kind of putting yourself at risk. You gotta have a head on your shoulders and know how to react to that. But, like, as women, we're too socialized to be, like, just polite and don't cause conflict and don't stir the pot. And it's like, I fucking like ballsy women who will talk back. And because who knows? Like, yeah, maybe you're going to talk back to some guy who just that just goes right over their head. But maybe you talk back to a guy and he has a thought in his head of, like, maybe I shouldn't do that again. Yeah. Like, you might change someone's way of thinking.
Yeah, like, I can handle someone catcalling me. Yeah. Because I have enough confidence to say, you know what, this is not right. Yes. You should not be talking to women like this. Whereas, the next person that walked down that street and this person said that to them, like, that could destroy them.
That's very true.
But, I have to pick and choose my battles.
That's just exactly it.
Like, it's probably smart for me to, say something to someone if I'm in a group versus by myself. Yeah. On the street.
That's
at
true.
Night.
That's true. Like, that's the logic part of it, right?
Yeah, like, I can...
You assess the situation.
I can always call the cops if, I feel like I'm in danger, but... Being a strong woman and not saying something is really hard.
Yes, thank you. That's my thing. You nailed it. You really nailed it.
Like, I just want to just cuss them out or say something eloquently and, just tear them down respectfully. Yeah. Without getting aggressive. But at this point, I was very aggressive and I was looking for a fight.
You're angry as fuck.
I wanted to get all this energy out, and I didn't care if it was going to be this random guy on the street that I wanted to just punch. and just take all my anger and, frustration as to why did this happen? Like, why did my dad pass away? Like,
right.
I just wanted someone to like.
And you know what? Better, kind of in a way, better it be a stranger than a friend, because I imagine, like, did you lash out at any friends during this time? Like,
I didn't.
That's good.
I am not an aggressive person. I will say what I need to say.
Right.
Even if it is gonna hurt.
Right.
And that sucks for everyone involved, but I think being firm with people and honest
yes, so
is the best way to be versus everything's okay, I'm gonna sweep it under the rug. So thankfully, like, I have nothing that is weighing down on me right now. If I have anything that's weighing down on me, I express it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hold it in. I don't bottle it up, because shit needs to be dealt with, and there's no point in holding it in.
Yes, I totally agree. It's exactly how I deal with things too.
Yeah.
And going back to the anger thing, do you ever feel like someone, like you lost your dad unexpectedly, and you're around people, and you went back to work after 3 days? Do you ever find yourself hearing other people complain about their life and just want to say, like, fuck off? Like this happened to me. Like, what you're going through is nothing. Like, did you ever feel that need? Because as a friend, like, sometimes I'm just like, fuck, I can't complain about my life because what these people are going through is so much bigger than what I'm going through. And I can imagine having, like, anger and sadness and all these emotions. Like, maybe does a part of you ever want to just be like, fuck off, what, your life is so small compared to what I'm doing.
No, thankfully no one, I think everyone has respected this time.
That's really good.
That I've had, or these 4 months, and, they let me go through everything that I need to go through, and, like I said, call on them if need be, but no one has actually come to me with any major issues, because at the moment I can't handle that.
Right, that's so true.
And I acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully everyone around me knows that. Like, there's only so much one person can handle at a time.
Jesus, yeah.
And yeah, I was at work 2 weeks after Dad passed away, and this lady from Ganesh came in because I recognized her, and like, I helped her before, and she was coming in to return a pair of shoes that I bought from her. And she, saw me at the counter, and she came up, put her bag down, and she was like, your dad passed away recently, didn't he?
Oh, God. Why would you ever?
Yep. And I was like,
what the hell?
So, like, I was like, how do you know that? Like, I got super defensive. And she's like, oh, well, I remember from last time, and I'm from Ganesh. And I was like, why would you say that to me right now? I'm at work.
Seriously?
And I was working with Rachel at the time. And I was just like, Rachel, can you come deal with this person? And I went out back. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, you fucking cunt.
Seriously.
How dare you come to my work and bring it up that way instead of being like, it's like, your father passed away, just so nonchalant, and be like, instead of, because she knew exactly who I was, she could have said, I'm so sorry about your loss. Anything aside from, like, happy bubbly, oh, your father passed away recently, didn't he? It's just like,
oh my God.
So thank God Rachel came over and she was dealing with her. I went up back, I just started bawling. Because it's like, way to pick at a scab that's super fresh.
Do people not have any social tact?
Oh, do not even get me started on social tact. My poor mom works, in the public arena. People come up to her and ask her daily, so when are you going to get married again?
Shut up!
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah, it hasn't been 4 months, and, people in the family have been like, oh, well, we can see after a year after Graham passed that you can start dating again or find someone else. Mom's like, no, I married this person And that's it. I am not looking for anyone else. That is
and
the
it's
one
none of their business.
Except like random people coming up, like this one girl that my mom works with came up to her and said, well, we all know why you didn't have a funeral for your husband, because we know you can't afford it.
Oh my God.
And, okay, first off, my dad didn't want a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
That is not him. He's not a social person. Or was not. And it's frivolous.
It is 100%. I totally agree.
That's my dad. He was very, stingy, but he was very economically conscious. So for someone to come up and say that, like,
oh my God, it's like you don't know him.
Like if I see this person,
oh yeah,
I am going to fucking poke out her other eye, and she will be blind.
I love how you said her other eye.
I do not care.
Yeah,
I will go to jail.
And it's that fucking small town. Everybody knows everybody. Everyone's in everyone's business. Mm-hmm. Everyone, like, love of God, reads something in the local newspaper and it's gospel. If they, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, get over yourselves. Like, there's such a big world out there, and people are going through so much shit.
Yeah.
And, like, fucking asking her about being remarried? What the fuck? That's so fucked up.
Like, have some respect. Like, my mom is a very religious person, and what she's saying now is, like, my husband has passed away. I'm married to God. Mom has always wanted to be a nun, but, she chose to have a family.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's super religious. Doesn't impose it, thankfully, because, sorry, I don't believe in God.
Oh, man. Like, I'd love to do a podcast just about the idea of the small town mentality and the growing up with religion. Like, I kind of want to do an episode all about that. Just the idea that religion's kind of inflicted on you at such a young age, especially in...
You're baptized.
Where we're from.
When do you ever get a choice to be baptized? Like, no, it happens within weeks of being born.
It's insane.
It's stupid.
And you gotta find your own way. But, I mean, to each their own. If you're into that, you're into that. But the fact of the matter is, mind your own goddamn business. Yeah. And don't bring up people's loved ones dying just so fucking casually.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Because, like, if that woman had said that to you in the sense of, if she approached it like, oh, like you look familiar. You must be from Anaganesh. Like, I heard about your dad. I'm so sorry. Mm-hmm. Like that's how you say it.
Just something a little bit more tactful.
Or maybe just, like, don't say it at all.
Yeah.
Like, if you have to say it, like, don't say it in that way. Holy shit.
I was so angry.
Oh, my God.
And I just remember just ranting for days.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Because, when you're grieving, you want to find something else to focus on.
100%.
And it's easy to find something else to focus on instead of thinking about what's actually happening.
So what were the ways that you learned to have fun again?
It really happened after my grandmother's funeral, which wasn't very far back. Like, she passed away in April. And, I was able to get closure because I was seeing family, because it was my dad's mother who passed away, my Grammy.
It was this past April?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So a lot has happened in the past couple of months.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Holy fuck.
It's been rough.
Wendy, I'm so, like, that's insane. Your dad, then the cat, and then your grandma? I can't. That's a lot.
Yeah. At least with Grammy, it was very... it was
more expected.
She was 92. She was kind of sick anyway, so it was more of when versus a shock,
right?
But yeah, it was good to go to Grammy's funeral. In a way, it was more like a dual service.
That's nice
because what they were saying about Grammy, you could definitely relate it to Dad, and Dad was the firstborn. He was the only son of Grammy's, and it was nice to have the entire family there. A lot of people came up before and after the service to give their condolences, like his cousins, who I've never met before. saying, like, I'm so sorry to hear about your father, and you must be Graham's daughter. Like, we can totally tell. You're tall and skinny.
Right. Oh.
So it was nice to have closure that way and, like, that comfort, because I feel like since Dad didn't have a funeral, I missed out on, like, we all missed out on that.
Right.
We didn't feel the family support. It was, he passed away. Okay, now we just kind of continue on with our lives. We didn't feel that.
It is a sense of closure.
Yeah. So I feel like that has really helped. What I've even done today is my day off, and I was just like, I need a day to myself.
Hell yeah.
Just need to focus on myself. So I went and I bought some food. I dyed my hair. I cut my hair. I watched a couple of movies and just kind of hung out with myself. And
good for you. That's so important.
Yeah, just relaxed and had no expectations put on me for the day, and just choose to be happy. And, for me, being happy is cleaning. It's very therapeutic, or hanging out with my friends, or, hanging out with my boyfriend and playing video games or watching a movie, or I have to say, watching comedies.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Stand-up and movies.
Yeah. Such an escape. Such a good escape.
Because you can be in the worst mood ever and completely sad. But if you can find something that'll just make you laugh.
Oh, yeah. Big
for an
time.
hour. It's great. And then just embrace feeling sad when it comes up.
That's such a good thing to say. Like,
last week, I was out back preparing for a delivery and moving boxes to, for when they came in. And I just broke down crying. And I don't know where it came from. I think it was, just the past couple of months with all these losses that has been happening. And I just started crying. And I started crying really hard. And my coworker came back. And she noticed that I was crying. And she's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, a wave of grief just came over me."
Right.
She's like, "Okay." She's like, "Do you want a hug?" I'm like, "I'm good." And then she's like, "Okay."
It's a really great way to say it. A wave of grief.
Yeah. Because you never know when it's going to happen. Like, I did have a flash of Dad, like, laying in the bed, passed away. And I went on break, and, I was still crying. And then my manager came back. She's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I'm just thinking about Dad." That's all I had to say. And she just, like, wrapped me in a hug, because she is an amazing person. She's very loving. And I'm so appreciative to have all, like, those people at work, and especially her. And she's like, "Take as much time as you need. Like, there's nothing going on. Just clock back in and just stay back here a while."
Mm-hmm.
So, fuck. Like, it's gonna take a long time, but you need to just, whoever is going through this, like, it's gonna take time, and can't rush it. You can't think that, okay, a month from now I'm gonna be okay, or 2 months from now I'm gonna be happy. It's like, you just have to feel what you're feeling at the time, and not feel guilty for feeling happy.
I was just gonna say that, because when you were talking about your self-care day, like, I think sometimes when people lose people, they might think, I'm not allowed to be happy because, like, I don't want them to think that I don't miss them, or them being gone isn't affecting me. And it's just like, goodness gracious, like, you can't, I know it's hard, but, like, you can't think that way.
No, it's not.
Because they want you to be happy. They love you.
Like, I can't imagine if Dad saw me, crying 4 months later about him. He'd be like, "What are you doing? Like, I'm gone. Why are you still crying?"
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's me.
Are you someone who believes in mediums?
I do, in a way. I watch a lot of BuzzFeed Unsolved, like ghosts and stuff.
Would you ever do something like that?
I don't think I would, this close to losing so many people.
That makes sense.
I think it would be absolutely terrifying.
You'd have a lot around you.
Yeah.
They'd be overwhelmed.
I definitely do feel, that my dad and my Grammy are still around me. Like, they still have a really positive influence in my life. But I don't know if I would want to make contact
Right.
just yet.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Like in my family, chickadees. Whenever we see chickadees, we always say it's my grampy. Because my grampy passed when I was 7 years old. And he loved chickadees, and we always see them around the house, and even in Halifax, I'm always seeing them. I'm like, oh, hi, Grampy. Aww. And then my Uncle Jack passed away, and we'd always see 2 chickadees. I'm like, oh, hi, like, it's you 2. Like,
aww.
It's great. So anytime I see chickadees, I'm like, okay,
reminded.
That's them. Like, they're here to visit. And I know some people will think that's weird, but that's just the way it is in my family. We see, like, birds as, like, you know, messengers coming to comfort you. And even though, you know, my mom's super religious, she's still a little superstitious as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
It's comforting.
It is. And even if it's just like the sun coming out.
Because no matter, and like the thing is too, and like I'm not trying to, I don't want to shift the convo to the whole God or afterlife thing, but like it is comfort. Like there's no way you can love someone and then have them die and for you to think that their essence is not still around.
Yeah, you need
like,
to
there's
feel
no
like
way.
There's a connection
There's
still
no
there.
way. Like no matter who you are, someone's impacted your life. They're going to live on.
Mm-hmm.
They are. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. It's so hard to let them go.
Mm.
And to know that, you know, they are gone. They're never coming back. But to have those little reminders of them is great. Like, when my dad passed away, all I wanted was his jackknives. Because that is something he's always had on him.
Oh, that's my dad too.
And I carry it with me. Like, it's in my purse right now.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I can hold on to and still feel like I'm connected to him. Mm. Even though I physically can't see him, I still feel a connection with him. Like, I'm not a religious person at all. But it is hard when people are like, well, once you're dead, you're dead. It's like,
there's no way.
Yeah, like it's comforting for the person who was lost versus like just knowing that when they're gone, they're gone. Like, even when I hear songs, like I remember I was sitting down and I was listening to the radio and CCR came on, and that was like my dad's favorite band, and I just broke down crying.
Yeah.
And it was a really good moment, because if you don't grieve, then it's like you've never loved. Mm-hmm. Because if you are grieving, then you have truly loved in your life. Like, you loved that person. Like, you wouldn't be feeling these intense emotions unless that person had a really good impact on your life. Like, you wouldn't be feeling that loss. And to be grieving and to feel that pain is a gift in a way, because
it means you loved.
It means you loved.
You loved really hard.
And they loved you. And you missed that. And if you didn't have that, then that'd be sad. Like, if I didn't feel devastated about my dad or my cat or my grandmother passing away, then they wouldn't have had a positive impact in my life. But I am so grateful that they did have a really good impact in my life. And they were so loving and they were so supportive. And my cat was all about the love.
And it made you who you are in a way, too.
They did. Like, my Grammy was the most positive person I've ever known. She's never held a grudge. I've never heard her say a negative thing about anyone in my entire time I've known her. So to have that person in my life, it was huge.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that. And that's the way I try to live my life. I try to be as positive
I was just gonna say,
as I can.
Because you talking about your dad and your grandmother, like, I'm hearing you describe them, and I'm like, that's you. Like, it is, though. Yeah. Like, you're a selfless, kind person.
Thank you.
Like, you're one of the, honest to God, you are.
You're gonna make me cry.
and that's them coming out in you, and that's why they're living on.
Yeah.
Fuck. This podcast. Wendy, you're killing me. Can we talk about porn again? What's going on here?
I don't think I feel comfortable with that.
But it's so true. And, like, no matter what you believe, like, you fucking said it. Like, if you're grieving, you're really loved. Like, that's a beautiful quote.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
You wouldn't be feeling those intense emotions unless they had a positive influence on your life. But when someone's gone, they're not gone.
No, they're certainly not.
Like them.
And that's why I feel so strongly, and I kind of get obsessed with the news sometimes when there's murder cases or like missing people, because fuck, I mean, like, I can't imagine not, like, you have the police saying they're dead, but you don't have a body, so you don't fucking know.
Oh, jeez.
Like, that, like, there's something about that really fucks me up.
Yeah, like, they could be chained somewhere in a shed.
Yeah, like closure is good in the sense of, like, you can move on. Like, they're always going to be with you. They're not gone. But, like, you know they're gone and you're going to move on with your life. But, like, just the idea of, like, not having that closure.
Like, 10 years later.
Yeah.
We found remains in the woods.
Can you imagine?
And they had to do, like, dental record checks.
Yeah.
And then finally, 10 years later, this family gets closure. I couldn't imagine going 10 years or however long, not knowing if this person's still alive.
Especially parents with kids. I can't. There's something about it that, like, I don't know, just hits me really hard. Fuck. It's really hard. And like I said, I'm petrified of death. I'm scared about how I'm going to deal with it. I have no idea how I'm going to deal with it. I really don't. I mean, I think...
Your own death? Or people around me. Okay.
I know how I'm going to deal with my death. I'm going to haunt fucking people. Okay.
Come back, bitches.
But death to me is something I think about a lot.
Mm.
I've mentioned this a number of times on the podcast, but, like, I think about it a lot. And I'm not someone who goes to sleep easily at night.
Yeah, I've seen you're like 1 o'clock or
I know,
1 a.m. Like, this is the earliest I've been, like, gone to sleep.
But the thing is like, I will be on the verge of sleep and I will get what I call, like, little mini night terrors. Mm-hmm. And it keeps me up at night, and my mind just, I just have a mind that goes places and then it keeps going. And because I have this fear of dying unexpectedly, I just have this irrational fear that somehow my death is going to be unexpected or an accident or something like that. But then I'm just, like, really scared of my parents dying or my friends dying, because I'm like, holy fuck, I don't know how I'm going to deal. But like we've said, I hope that because I've gone through hardships before, I will be able to, like, I will have that strength, and hopefully I'll be okay.
Yeah, of course you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And even if it takes longer for you to get to the okay point,
that's okay then. Yeah.
It's okay to not be okay. Like,
yeah, so true.
My friend Holly messaged that to me because she's like, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. She's like, you know it's okay to not be okay, right?
Yeah.
Because, of course, I do not want to put, like, a weak friend on. Like, I feel like I have to be strong and, you know, be courteous to people around me. But it got to the point where I was like, you know, if I'm feeling sad, I'm going to feel sad. Exactly. And I am not going to consider other people's feelings at this moment, because what I'm feeling right now is a lot more important than their comfort level.
Yes. Oof.
And
that's
if
great.
They are
so true.
Yeah, like, if they are true friends, they're not going to care if I'm breaking down, like, randomly, because they know exactly what I've been going through, and of course anyone's going to crack under that pressure.
Fuck yeah. Ay. So what advice would you have if someone's listening to this and say they're going through, say it's fresh? You kind of already gave advice, but is there anything else that you would say to those people?
Just take your time.
Take your time. Yeah.
Don't rush it. Everyone is different. Everyone's grief process is different. You just need to listen to what your body needs and what your heart needs and your emotional state. Like, if you need to be around people, be around people. If you need to be by yourself, just locked up in a room crying, watching sad movies, then do that. Do not put pressure on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is having this loss in your life is going to be the biggest thing, probably loss-wise, you're going to deal with.
Yeah. I feel like parents or like spouses are the two big ones.
Yeah, and you can't prepare for it.
Yeah.
You don't know how you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
a year after. Like, you're never going to be the same person.
No.
And you just have to deal with who you are after these events have occurred.
Mm.
And just keep yourself surrounded by positive people and people who love you unconditionally no matter what.
Yeah. And I think in a way, when you lose someone, it almost makes you appreciate the people around you a little more each time that you lose someone.
Yes.
Because you're like, holy shit, like, I need to tell these people I love them.
Yeah, like,
because you never know.
Is really fragile.
It
like,
really is.
My dad
so
slipped
scary.
and fell on ice.
That's the scary
Like,
scary
that's
part about it.
That's it. He slipped and fell.
Like a lot of people slip and fall.
And
you know?
he's gone. And
Yeah.
that's all it took. So, like, you don't know when your last day is going to be, so you need to, carpe diem, seize the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know when your day is going to be the last one. I know that sounds really, dark, but you just have to live your life while you have it. There's no point sitting around moping. There is times and place for that when you need to, but you need to just move on and just get back to your happy self. And, well, that's who I am, my happy self.
Yeah.
Just like happy and bubbly and just enjoying life. And yeah, like just.
You owe yourself it. That's the thing. People need to realize that.
Yeah.
That they owe themselves that.
Like, don't beat yourself up over something you can't control.
Ugh. It's so true. Like, those things that you can't control, and it stresses me out too.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing you can do.
No, you just have
Nothing you
to
can do.
continue on being yourself, and hopefully situations will be resolved and grief will ease with time. Like, I don't get as many flashbacks as I usually do, like I have over the past couple months of, seeing Dad laying there lifeless. So it really does take time and patience and just being super kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't...
Self-care.
Yeah, like,
so important.
I think I made food maybe 5 times in these past 4 months. Like, I have been relying on takeout.
Yeah.
Heavily. Because I do not feel like cooking. But I know I need to eat. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to spend the money. And I'm going to get, like, a $14 lunch or supper or something like that. Like, just take care of yourself the way you need to personally be taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care is so important.
So I hope whoever's listening to this, whoever's gone through this, can take comfort that you're not alone. And it's an individual process. But...
And your process is your process.
And you're going to come out the other side.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter how long it takes for you to get there.
And everyone is going to understand.
Gosh,
no
so
one
true.
is going to judge you for grieving.
Yeah.
For however long you need to grieve. Do not be hard on yourself.
Yeah. Good. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
This was beautiful. It was sad but beautiful.
Yeah, I felt like, it needed to be talked about because everyone goes through
Everyone goes through it. Whether you're a friend of someone who's going through it or whether you're going through it. Like,
yeah.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, prepare yourself the best you can, but you never really can fully prepare, but just know that it's going to get better. It's just going to take time.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah,
so I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Because I think this is going to be a really touching episode for a lot of people. I think a lot of people need to hear this. And it takes a fucking strength, let me tell you, to get on a mic and talk about it. So you're a very strong lady. Stronger than I think you are.
Oh, thank you.
So, so thanks so much, Wendy. And hopefully you'll be back. Oh, you're going to come back on.
Of course I'm going to come
You're
back
a regular at this point. This is your second episode.
2 in. We're good. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much. And I thought we didn't do too bad with the wine. But we're going to maybe finish the wine.
There is like a half a bottle left. That's impressive.
We gotta kill that. It's going to go bad otherwise. But thanks so much, Wendy. And
thank you.
You do the honors. Ring that bell. Ding, 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 ding.
That's great.